War is not a video game. War is not a video game. Put in today's climate, we have two leaders of this country and one in North Korea that go at each other like they're high school kids. They bait one another, and we've taken this prospect of hostility between these two from a function that's about that big to now a function that people are actually starting to think about it. Will there be hostilities? Will there be war between North Korea and the US? It makes no sense. They're even plotting out the scenario, how many casualties there will be per day in South Korea. 20,000 per day. It's a good thing that Seoul's big enough. They got 25 million, so they can supply enough bodies for a long period of time. But it's more than that. Recently, there was a documentary released on PBS called The Vietnam War. Now, for most of you, Vietnam War is kind of an abstract concept, and you get to revisit it through documentaries like this. But I remember it. Erica remembers it. I remember sitting in front of the television set on a nightly basis when they reported casualties, number of planes shot down, number of helicopters lost, and the number of the enemy killed, the venomous enemy. In those days, that news was somewhere between 6 and 12 hours old. That was really recent news. Now, put that in perspective of the U.S. history of warfare, limited as it is, 200 years. Go back to the Civil War. Civil War, we had combat deaths of over 620,000 people. My, we did a fine job of killing people then, even in those crude times. And they died badly. Fast forward to the First World War. We sent 120,000 to their death. Go to World War II, just a mere 420,000. On to Korea, 40,000. On to Vietnam, 56,000. Iraq, Afghanistan, 7,000 and counting. That doesn't even begin to consider all the other people we killed, all the other destruction, all of the casualties. You know, we have casualties in a rate of about 10 to 15 to 1 to every one you kill. And those people get to live with those things. When you talk to people who have been in war zones, they talk about the smell of death. I may talk about it in the funeral home, but that's not the smell of death. The smell of death in the field is something else. The destruction, the cost, and unintended consequences. Over the last 20 years, we've tended to look at hostilities as though they were a video game. And I know you've all seen this picture. It's on a television set, it's grainy black and white. There's a building, a tank, a plane, it's something. And there's a smart munition coming into it. And it had a strategic impact. Smart bombs. Everybody knows that's the way it is. No collateral damage, everything is fine. It's not the way it works. Instead, we bomb, and we bomb, and we bomb, and we slaughter, and we slaughter, and we slaughter. Now, it just seems that today we're starting to feel some voices rising. And they're saying, whoa, let's go slow. This is way, way too fast. You feel it locally, but you start to feel it in Congress. It's a sense that something isn't right and we don't want to duplicate it. One of those voices is a senator from Illinois. Her name is Tammy Duckworth. Tammy was a casualty of the Iraqi war. She was shot down in her helicopter in 2004. She had catastrophic injuries, lost both legs and the use of one of her arms. She served out and retired from the military, and now she serves in public service. She knows the cost of war. Within the last week or so, she's penned a letter to the president. And I want to read just a short insert. In her letter to the president, she argued that the U.S. government must avoid the wishful thinking and willful blindness that characterized the run-up to the Iraqi war. She's talking about Korea. And instead reckon honestly and openly with the possible economic and human toll of using military force. Again, war is not a video game. It's nasty, nasty business. And when she stands before her fellow congressional members on her two artificial legs, she knows up close what war is all about. So, what can you do? We're single voices. Everybody knows you can't have an effect. But you can call your congressperson. Call. You can write a letter, not text, not email. Write a letter. They will respond to those things. Tell them to go slow. Tell them they know, beginning to sense, that war is ugly, ugly business. I want to finish with one reflection. We've all seen footage out of World War II, out of the South Pacific, towards the close of the war. Nasty, nasty business. We killed people like we were squashing bugs. I asked my father when he was in his 80s, he served in the Second World War, since you didn't have the freedom of information that you have now, did you have a sense of how things were? He said, we didn't know specifically, but we knew things were bad. When you look at that footage, it was bad. War is not a video game. It's nasty, ugly, smelly work. Fellow Toastmasters,